There we go. Well, today is the winter solstice.
Sure is.
The shortest day of the year. Sorry, Cynthia. The shortest day of the year.
I didn't laugh
I
at all.
don't complain.
Oh. Are you lying, isn't it?
Probably.
Tomorrow, the days will start to get longer.
Ooh.
Actually, I never think of Cynthia with the winter solstice. I do it the summer solstice because that's the shortest night of the year.
The what? Ooh, that's 10.
Oh boy, and I started yesterday.
Oh yeah, I already told on you too. And share.
Well, this is the winter solstice. It's the night I was talking about last week where a lot of people throughout the world created celebrations around it. Today also, though, is the start of Hanukkah. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with the festival of Hanukkah. Hanukkah actually, a lot of Hebrew words are can have multiple meanings to them. Hanukkah is one of those kind of words. It can mean consecrated or dedicated, but it also could mean education, because they saw it as a chance to educate about their religion, about themselves. But the story goes that invaders from the Seleucid Empire, don't worry, I know, sounds like science fiction, but the Seleucid Empire had invaded and conquered, tried to conquer Israel. The Israelis fought them off. In the meantime, the invaders had attacked the temple in Jerusalem and had put out the flame. Now the flame at the temple was dedicated to God. The idea was that it burned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year round, showing multiple things. It was an indication of a Jew's dedication to God. It must be constant, 24 hours a day. God's dedication to the Jews. God is a part of their life constantly, 24 hours a day. And of the prophecies contained in the Talmud. It was supposed to be the light of God. But the Seleucids, when they attacked and desecrated the temple, they put the flame out, because that was an insult to them. And I have to pause here for a minute to say, boy, am I glad to be a spiritualist, because we have no rituals. It's really hard to insult us. You know? Hang a cross upside down on a chain around your neck and you enrage a lot of Christians.
That's true.
Put out the flame in the Jewish temple, it enraged a lot of Jews. Walk into a spiritualist church and insult some part of it, and they'll go, oh, you're probably right, it's not that great a picture. Maybe we should hang something differently there. You can't talk to the dead, it's all in your head. Well, you're entitled to your opinion, and I'd appreciate a chance to discuss it with you. Anyway, the Maccabees were the ones who led the counterattack, recaptured Jerusalem, and Maccabee priesthood wanted to relight the flame, and they were able to get it lit, and discovered that there was only 24 hours of oil for the flame. Now, it can't just be any kind of oil. It had to be, I think it was like olive oil pressed from certain trees and then consecrated by priests. So they probably had hundreds of gallons of lamp oil in Jerusalem. None of it could be used because it had to be special lamp oil. They only had that 24 hours, and I've heard variations on the story. One version of it is that the olive trees had to be harvested, the oil had to be pressed out of it, and then it had to be consecrated, and all of this would take 8 days. The other version is that a messenger had to be sent to somewhere where there was oil being stored and bring some back, and that would take 8 days. But they only had 24 hours for the candle to burn, for the flame to burn. So they lit the flame and went to work. And after 24 hours, it kept burning. 30 hours, still burning. 48, still burning. On and on. For 8 days, that 24 hours worth of fuel, according to the story, stayed lit. Until they were finally able to bring a new supply of oil into the temple and refill it. And it was seen as a miracle from God. God saying, it's okay, I'm with you. Now again, being a spiritualist, my thought would have been, where were you when the Seleucids were overrunning Jerusalem? You can keep a flame burning for 8 days, you can't keep a door locked? This is my way of looking at things. But that's the miracle that they celebrate every year. The miracle of the flame, the fact that God kept the oil burning for 8 days. The menorah is the main symbol of that. If you've seen the menorah, you know, it's a candelabra, and all the flames have to be in a row, and there has to be 9 flames. What you do, there's a special ceremony yesterday at sundown where you light the middle flame, the middle candle. That's the shamash. The shamash means preserver or guardian. It can also mean servant. So it's another of those Hebrew words that have multiple meanings. But you light the shamash the day before Hanukkah begins. Hanukkah is considered it's considered a Sabbath day. Even though the Sabbath is usually on a Saturday, and that was what's confusing about this year. A lot of Orthodox Jew would have lit the shamash Friday for sundown, or they would have had to have waited till sundown yesterday to light it, because yesterday was the Sabbath, and Jews are not supposed to do any form of work during the Sabbath, including light a fire. If you were to live next door to an Orthodox Jewish family, and if on a day like today, 10 degrees out, the pilot light in their furnace goes out, they're not allowed to relight it on the Sabbath. They would come to you, a non-Jewish friend, and say, could you light my pilot light? And as long as they're fairly decent people, my suggestion is be kind, light the fire for them. Because the more Orthodox they are, they would just sit there and freeze. They cannot light it. My brother-in-law, Jim, was out running errands. This was a couple of years ago on a day somewhat like this. They live up in Milwaukee, so they have them from like July onward.
That's true.
I think July 3rd it gets kind of warm, and then after that it cools back down again in Milwaukee. But no, not true. It's a beautiful city, Milwaukee. But it was a day like today, and it was on a Sabbath, and a friend of his was walking several blocks to Temple, and he asked, do you want to ride? And he said, no, I'm not allowed, because they're also not allowed to be a mechanical conveyance on the Sabbath. And Jim said, oh, come on, I'll drive you to within a block. You can get out and walk. Nobody will know. And he said the guy just stood there a second and then said, God and I would.
Wow.
And he kept walking.